Hello. Today we are going to get some small topics on concerning the property right. We have the general theory of the property right covered already. However, there are very small specific areas of the property right. Each of them has a unique, interesting point. First topic I want to talk about is something called fugitive property. There's a movie named Fugitive. The fugitive means some criminals get away, and we call them fugitive. They run away, avoiding the cops, and the cops are chasing them, but it's very hard to catch them and things like that. So fugitive means something running away, even though you want to catch. I think. No. What do I know? I'm not an English teacher, but that's what I understand about the word fugitive. Now, think about a situation where two neighbors, I'll call them Tom and Jim, and they have a neighboring house. The house is quite big. It's not very populated area. It's a rural area, and Tom and Jim has a pretty big house. Compared to the small apartment and small houses in big New York City or Seoul and like big metropolitan area. Anyhow, one day, without any reason, with no reason, Tom begins to dig in his yard. Of course, it's his land. And he digs, and he found out, wow, there are lots of gold buried under his house. It's not kind of somebody buried them long time ago. It's like gold was there when the earth was first made. Wow, there's a chunk of gold. So he begins to dig them out and get them sold and become rich. Because Jim has a house very next to, adjacent to Tom's house, and he looked at it and digged deeper and deeper, and he also found the gold. Okay, so Jim sold the gold, and he's a happy man. Can you see any reason why Tom and Jim are fighting in this case? For me, maybe not. Tom found out gold under his house and looked at that. Jim tried the same thing and found some gold under his house too. And Jim would never argue, Tom, give me that gold, because everybody knows Tom only digged his land. And Tom would never say, Jim, please give me the gold, because he cannot do that because Jim got the gold under his land. So there's no dispute. The gold belongs to whom? The gold found under Tom's land, Tom's house, is Tom's. The gold found under Jim's house, Jim's. Okay. Now, change the subject. Once again, Tom and Jim are neighbors in the rural area, big house, etc., etc. And without any reason, Tom begins to, once again, digging his yard. Voila! And he found out petroleum. Okay, gasoline kind of thing. And wow, it's not Saudi Arabia or Iran or Iraq, but in the middle of Korea, Tom found out a petroleum buried millions and millions ago under his land. So that means he can be rich. So he begin to pump out the petroleum. And it just happens the petroleum was buried, not only on Tom's house, under Tom's house, but also Jim's, because they are so close by, it's almost impossible that petroleum only exists under Tom's and not in Jim's. So, what would be Jim's reaction on this? Of course, Jim wants to do the same thing, so he will dig. But then, after digging and digging, he also found the petroleum, but very small amount. If it was gold, Jim would say, oh my God, how come there's a lot of gold under Tom's house, not under mine? I'm so unlucky. But if it is petroleum, it's a little bit different story. Why Jim has much less petroleum under his house than Tom's? Petroleum, gold is a hard substance. Okay? On the other hand, petroleum is liquid. So, if the liquid exists under Tom and Jim's house, and if Tom pumped them out very hard, night and days, it's not only the petroleum under Tom's house that would be pumped, but also the petroleum under Jim's house would flow into Tom's house and it would be pumped out too. Thinking about the swimming pool, okay? Half the swimming pool belongs to Tom, half the swimming pool belongs to Jim, and it's full of water. If Tom pump out the water, is it possible only Tom pump out half of the water? Or would it be possible Tom pump out every water? Of course, Tom would pump out all the water, not only his part, but as well as Jim's part, because the Jim's water would flow into Tom's water as soon as Tom pumped them out. So, the same thing. Here, it's very hard to know, unlike the gold, how much petroleum originally belonged to Tom and how much petroleum originally belonged to Jim. So there's one big empty space under both houses, and if Tom pump out from one end of the empty space, then it can pump out everything, including the petroleum under Jim's house. That is fugitive property. The gold is not fugitive property because it's not moving, but the petroleum is moving. So what is the problem? When you face a fugitive property, it's very hard to define how much of it is Tom's and how much it is Jim's. You can easily imagine there would be a lot of dispute and controversy over the fugitive properties. Okay? How can the judge establish the possession of these fugitive properties? Generally, when the judge or the court decide to whom does this thing belong to, they use generally two ways. One is first possession, second is tied ownership. Okay, first possession is first come, first serve. Okay, you go to some deserted island. Obviously, there is no owner. Okay, and first found, or you go to the sea. Okay, you go on fishing, and you throw the fishing rod, and then the first bite you got a salmon. Okay, whose salmon is this? The salmon is a wild thing. It's not like somebody is growing salmon in his backyard. So you caught the salmon, that's yours. That's first possession. The first person who found it, who caught it, has it. Okay? That is the rule of first possession. So it's very simple. Like two people are fighting over one salmon and they go to the court. The judge said, who had it first? And Tom said, I caught it. And Jim said, yeah, but I took it. The first one who possessed the wild salmon has the ownership. Okay? That's first possession. What about tied ownership? Tied ownership is, if possible, everything has the owner. Okay? If you found the gold, okay, under some mountain, Tom found the gold on the mountain, and Jim came up later, oh, that's mine. Why? Because it's my mountain. You dig up the gold from my mountain. Then the judge said, okay, this gold came out of Jim's mountain. So even though Tom dig it out, it's not yours, Tom. It's Jim's, because even though there's no name on it, but it's Jim's because it's Jim's land. So before somebody took it, everything has name on it. That is tied ownership. Okay, complicated. Let's go back to the example I introduced in the previous case lecture. The difference. Okay, in Maryland, I talked about the oyster fishing people who, at first, it was first possession. Everybody go to the coastal area and found the oyster and took it. Then it's mine. That's first possession rule. However, later, the state government of Maryland divided the coastal area into small sections, and then one fisherman is assigned to each section so that no other fisherman catch that. So if Tommy is a fisherman and he is assigned to section 11, Jim, Bob, nobody can catch at section 11 but Tom. So every oyster in section 11 has kind of Tom's name on it. Okay? That is tied ownership. I already explained when it became tied ownership from the first possession, people take care of the oyster better, so their output increased 50%. That is why. So first possession is not actually ownership. It's like taking, like cannibalizing something. So on the other hand, tied ownership is the real ownership in common sense, in modern sense. So we know that the oyster harvest would have increased considerably, in our example 50%, by using tied ownership instead of first possession. Can we do better by fishing? Yes, of course. So if you divide the fishermen into coastal area, like section 11, 12, 13, and then assign one fisherman at each area, would it increase? No. The difference between oyster and fish is oyster stays, but fish move around. If Tom has a plan, okay, small fish, I will not catch you right now, but grow up and I'll catch you next year. If he goes there, fish is not there. Fish is not in section 11 anymore. It moved to section 21. So the tied ownership virtually impossible in reality. That's why in all the country in the world, the fishing industry acknowledge the first possession. Whoever catch the fish first has it. Okay? So the first possession rule is very inefficient. We call them the tragedy of commons. Why? You understand a lot of fish around Korea and around America is gone. Okay, the cod in eastern coastal area of America was very abundant, not anymore because overfishing. In Korea, we had a lot of squid or crab on the western coastal area, but not only Koreans, but lots of Chinese fishermen comes in and to catch it. So the crabs and many fishes are gone. Okay, so that is tragedy of common. If something has no ownership on it, owner name on it, and then just first come first serve, first possession rule would be applied, people are fiercely competing to do something. Okay, overtaking. So when you overtaking, maybe this year you are happy, but next year there's not anymore because you kill them all. That is tragedy of commons. In original sense, there are like cows and sheep in a village, and then there is a grass around, so that the cows and sheep can feed on the grass. However, one greedy farmer says, "Oh, instead of one, because the cow can eat free, that the grass around the village is free, so I'll have 2, 3 cows. So I don't buy them any food, but they will grow. I'll make more money." And every farmer think the same way. And one day they found out, a couple of years later, there are no more grass, and they should buy food for their cows. Something like that. That is tragedy of common. If you own something common as a village or as a society, usually they overutilize it, and it will disappear in the near future. Okay. If you look at the Industrial Revolution of Britain, 200 something years ago, before they make factories and steam engines and things like that, the British people overcome this tragedy common by setting a fence around their farm, so that now they can plan, okay, I have so many cows, then this grassland, my grassland, would sustain them. Before that, even though I have a little bit less than I want to have number of cow, then I would have more grass. Next year, my cow would get bigger, but then other cows get into my grassland and eat it. That is tragedy of common. But because of the fence, they plan better, they produce better, everybody produce better, like the oyster. So they make money and they build factory. That is the Enclosure Movement. If you look at the encyclopedia, Enclosure Movement is the farmers of Britain moved from first possession to tied ownership, and they make more money, and using that money, they do the Industrial Revolution and make factory. In that sense, honestly, I think, barbed wire, the fence is very expensive. You need a lot of rocks and wood to make a fence. So one day you think, oh, it's not worth it. It costs too much. I know first possession is not efficient, but in order to go to tied ownership, I have to make a fence, and I don't have the money. I cannot afford it. It doesn't make sense. Then somebody invented barbed wire. It's a small wire, but with a pointed end, so that like if you or cows and cattle get near, it's you scratch it and you feel a lot of pain. So the cows and sheep never cross the line. Okay, so that is the beauty of barbed wire. And then it's so easy to establish a barbed wire. You have a 2 stick, left side, right side, and then you just put the barbed wire onto it, like 10 minutes, you have a fence. In old days, it costs a lot because you need a lot of wood and rocks, and it would take you like 1 month to have a fence around this big area. However, using barbed wire, very cheap, and in 1 hour, you can have a fence around a large area. Okay? And that is a great thing that would do much, much, much more greater and increasing efficiency than any Nobel Prize winner in economics. So I honestly think anybody who invented the barbed wire should get the Nobel Prize in economics, because he contributed more to the economy of the world than any economist. Well, I may be exaggerating, but I really think so. Okay, another example I understand is, it's a shame to say, but 30 years ago, when I was a high school, I was junior or sophomore, I first I heard that there's something called internet. We didn't have internet at the time, at least in Korea. So I first had my email in my first year, last year of my college. So we didn't have like home pages and things like that. But then later, when I went to graduate school, I heard the news that there's something called homepage, and there is like windows and things like that. Then I heard a interesting news from the newspaper. There's someone who registered, who paid maybe $20-$30 at the time, and got the address www.com www.rolex.com. Of course, you know Rolex is the high-end, expensive watch brand in Switzerland. Okay, the company must be a big company and things like that. But then they didn't quite notice that there comes a internet and homepage and things like that. So when they realized, oh, we should have a homepage too because we have such a nice watch, we want to put them on the internet so that people can click and things like that. And then they found out some stupid guy, like a college guy, already took the www.rolex.com. And he says, no. Why did you know that? Oh, I just happened to like the name. And if you want to take it back, you should pay me. So I heard several $1 million was paid to this young college student from the company Rolex, just in order to get the address back. Okay, so at first the address was given by the first possession. Anybody comes, oh, can I get this address? www.rolex.com, www.samsung.com, and they say, okay, why not? Nobody's using that. You got it. That is first possession. However, that has lots of problem because the some sneaky guy got it and they got money with no justification. So I think now they changed to tied ownership. So you have to be already related to that name. So you're not Rolex watch company. Why do you need this? We cannot give it to you. Choose some other name and things like that. Okay. So first possession is inefficient, as I emphasized several times. However, if something like internet address first came in, be smart and get something. First possession is free and you may make a lot of money. Okay, next topic. Who should get it? Think about one example. Jane and Kathy. We think about two ladies, Jane and Kathy. Jane purchased a new TV. And one day she came back from the work and found out her new TV was stolen. She called the police. The police said, oh yeah, we will look for it. Of course, they cannot find it. Okay, what a police. However, later, Jane found out that one of her neighbor or one of her friends, Kathy, has a TV which looked exactly like her Jane's stolen TV. So she brought back the serial number or something and asked Kathy, can you show me the serial number of TV? And Kathy, why not? And they saw it and it's the same TV. So it's proven what Kathy has is Jane's stolen TV. But that does not mean Kathy is a thief or anything because she purchased the TV a week ago at a flea market at a reasonable price. The truth is, some thief stole Jane's TV and sold it to Kathy at a lower reasonable price. So Kathy is happy to buy it without knowing the TV was originally Jane's and the guy who sold it to her is a thief. If, let's assume that Kathy paid $100 for the TV to the thief. If the thief is caught and the police took $100 from the thief and give it to Kathy and TV go back to Jane, everybody, maybe not happy, everybody would be satisfied. But you know what? The police never catch the thief. Maybe once in a blue moon, the police catch the thief, but then the thief has no money. He used it up in a gambling or something. So in the end, whether the police catch the thief or probably not, there's one TV. Jane can say, this is my TV because it was stolen. Kathy may say, I purchased it in the flea market. Okay? So whose TV it is? I say law and economics has a very strict criterion, the efficiency. Which would be the efficient rule? Rule number 1, give it back to Jane. Rule number 2, no, Kathy has the right, so Kathy keep the TV. Okay. It's not like King Solomon, please cut the TV in the half and give half. No. Half of the TV does not work at all. It's just garbage. Okay? So, it's a situation, 1 TV and 2 justifiable owners. And the conclusion is, if I give you the quick answer, either way, there's a efficiency and inefficiency. So, there's a good side, bad side, whether if you give back to the original owner, Jane, or whether you give it to the new owner, Kathy, there's a good side and bad side. So, there's no clear answer. In USA and Korea, we give it back to the original owner, Jane. And in Europe, they give it back to Kathy. Of course, if Kathy was a part of thief, then it's not true. But if Kathy is really has ignorant about the situation and in a good will purchase TV, in Europe, give it back. What is the good side and bad side? In US and Korea, give back to original owner. The original owner would own TV, much less hesitation. When I purchase TV, if it's stolen, okay, usually gone. But after I found the TV back, but then I can get it back, which would be a great relief. So I would have one less worries when I purchase TV. That's a good thing. What is the bad side? If you are Korean and US citizen, you go to the flea market, purchase TV, you would be anxious. What if this is a stolen TV and there's no way you can know it? And then one day the police came in, they may take the TV out because, okay, Kathy, you didn't do anything wrong, but according to rule, this TV should go back to Jane. Something like that. So it would be terrible to the flea market. In the European side, it's opposite. The rule is good for the flea market, used product market. However, not really good in the real new product market. Okay, so the good side and bad side both raise out, and we do not know which is which. One interesting rule, the book says in Spain, some reason of Spain has is they look at what Jane and Kathy does. If Jane is not just the one normal salaryman, salarywoman, and purchase TV once in every 10 years or something, then we may think about giving back to Jane. However, if let's assume that Kathy purchased TV at the flea market, but Kathy is not just one of the TV watcher. She is running a used TV store. So Kathy has hundreds of TV. People go to Kathy's store and ask, oh, how much is this used TV? This much. So in that case, the TV should go to Jane. Why? Kathy must be an expert in used TV. So Kathy is much more capable of telling whether something is a stolen TV or the real TV sold by the real owner. So she must have much better knowledge than anybody else. When someone comes to her store and can I sell my used TV? She should know, she should better know whether that is a thief or a real owner. On the other hand, if Jane has a TV store, it's not just one of the TV watcher. She has a lot of TV in her new TV in her store, and it's stolen. Jane should know better, should have known better, because you have lots of TV inside and you're stolen. You should have a better security system because it's not burdensome for you, Jane. Because so if Kathy is a very naive, just one of those like a naive buyer at the flea market, then the expert Jane. So the burden would be more onto the expert, because expert can tell or prepare the security system better than the normal person. So it's only fair to give a little bit favor to the normal person against the expert. If one party is expert, the other party is normal person. That makes beautiful sense for the economists, because that is efficient rule. Okay, that gives the next topic: verification cost and registration cost. What are they? Okay, think about this situation. You have a money in your pocket, and somebody approaches you. Wow, you have lots of money. This. Can you see that car? I have the key. And he just turn on the engine. See, I have this car. And if you give your money in your pocket, I can give you the key. So this car is yours. So are you gonna give the money to the supposedly car owner? You should never do that. You should never do that. Maybe he is working at the hotel and some hotel customer gave the car so that the valet parking, and the valet sell you the car, which is not his, but the other customer. What would happen? The police comes in and say like, oh, this car is not the guy who sold you. He was a thief. So you give the car back to the original owner. And you may say, oh, what about my money? Sorry, but you are stupid. Why? What should you have done?